There are 28 different scopes we can use in Arena Breakout. All the sights and scopes have different characteristics. There's no way to see how these look, so I've made this video. You'll see the stats, the cost, and some idea of how useful the sight is. Let's get into it, starting with the cheapest sight available. The EPK-802 is mainly for AK and SKS style weapons. It is very similar to the EPK-818 that can be used on more guns. The sight is clear with a small triangle and is the cheapest sight. The OPK-7 is another cheap sight for AK and SKS style weapons. The design of the outer ring is unique and it has a green reticle. Overall, a very cheap and effective sight with great visibility. The EPK-818 can be used on a large amount of weapons. It is similar to the EPK-802 but has a dot for clearer targeting. The EPK-818 is a very common, cheap and effective sight. The classic red dot reflex sight needs a mini red dot rail to fit. This sight is arguably one of the worst sights in the game. The aiming visibility is very poor and the outer view is also poor. Far better sights exist for even less cost. The 3.5 AK scope is a cheap 3.5x scope for AK and SKS style weapons. One problem is that the sight itself blocks a lot of the screen. The reticle area is small and the outer visibility is fairly blocked. Not the best scope, but it certainly is very cheap. The F2000 scope is of course just for the F2000 assault rifle. For the cost, the 1.6 zoom is very useful, although the reticle has no clear cross, making targeting a little tricky in dark areas. For the cost, however, it is hard to go wrong with this scope. The triangle reflex sight requires a cross slot mount to use. This reflex sight can also be added to the 4x holographic sight. As a standalone sight, it is very effective and of course cheap. The 553 holo sight is very cheap and has low ergonomics cost. The reticle and outer scope visibility are both very usable. A great low cost sight to use for almost any weapon. The compact reflex sight can be used on other larger scopes for close combat or on its own with a compact bottom rail. The visible area is good, although the curve can be a little bit distracting. The Mosin dedicated scope is of course only for the Mosin rifle. For cheap runs this sight will work well enough, although a proper sniper scope would be preferred on an expensive build. The PK reflex sight can be used as a main sight or as a secondary one. It doesn't need a separate rail plate to be used in a lot of cases. It is clear enough to get the job done and has good visibility. The PSO is a cheap 4x scope for SKS and AK style weapons. The cost of the scope makes it great to use on low recoil builds. A great budget 4x scope with very few downsides. For the cost, the triangle precision sight is a good little sight. The bright green reticle and good visibility all help make this a very viable sight to use, especially in darker areas. The simple red dot is a very popular sight with a large visible targeting area and a great outside visibility. It's very hard to go wrong with this sight in any situation. This sight has the lowest ergonomics hit of all the sights. If a fast ADS build is your goal, then this is the sight for you. Similar in looks to the 553 holo sight, but it does have a higher cost. The 4x scope requires a compact universal base to fit to a gun. It supports a compact sight with a compact rail attachment. The scope has great visibility and a clear red triangle reticle. Not bad for the price. The 1:6 scope needs a 30mm bracket to attach to a weapon. This sight has a different reticle if you change the magnification. This is pretty much one of my favourite sniper scopes to use. The 1 to 4 times scope is considered one of the best 4 times scopes. The reticle visibility and surrounding area are all very clear. The 1 time zoom, however, is more of an iron sight than a magnification that can take some getting used to. The 2 to 7 times scope needs a 30mm bracket to use on a weapon. The reticle is very clear with a triangle shaped centre. The reticle does not change with the magnification. This can be a great scope to use on any sniper style weapon. The 4 to 16 times scope requires a 34mm bracket to attach to a weapon. This is the only scope that uses the 34mm brackets. The zoom level is crazy and the reticle allows for a very fine shot. The 6.5 to 20 times scope requires a 30mm bracket to fit to a gun. This is the highest magnification scope you can get in the game. The red cross reticle is very clear for those maximum range kills. The 2 times sight is one of the cleanest sights that you can use. Although it is quite expensive, it is worth every coin spent. The sight features a clear green cross reticle and the extra zoom level is useful even with medium recoil weapons. The 4 times holographic is a great looking sight externally and to use. It comes with the ability to add a full vision triangle reflex for close range combat, making it a great addition to any weapon. Note that without the reflex sight you cannot actually change the magnification. The 3.5 times needs a compact universal base to fit to a gun. This is a very popular scope with a clear view and green reticle. You can attach a compact reflex scope with a compact rail for closer range encounters if required. The 3 times combination holo sight is one of the nicest looking sights. It has a great animation for changing the magnification level, clear and easy to use at both magnification levels, and is a great choice of sight for pretty much any weapon. The 3 times scope supports 2 close range reflex sights. One reflex sight can be fitted to each side of the scope. Considering the cost, however, other sights just are better. The PS320 is a clear sight to use, although very expensive. The reticle is clean and is easy to use at both magnifications. If you have the Cohen, I would actually highly recommend using this sight. The most expensive sight award goes to the PZ3 thermal sight. It has 2 zoom levels, 1 and 3.5 times magnification. It will show dead or alive players as a bright orange colour. It can be tricky to use as buildings and other props don't show very well. It also has this blinding light when you de-ADS in bright outside areas. The thermal sight is very expensive, but for dark maps or peeking into buildings from the outside, it is by far the superior choice. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments which is your favourite scope.